Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I don't know if you can tell, but today I am extremely excited for this review, as it is probably my favourite anime of all time. Please don't hate me, anime fans, for saying that. And that show is none other than Castlevania, specifically in this review, just the first season. Now, because the first season is so short with only 4 episodes, today's video isn't going to be as juicy as a normal Monday video is. However, it also felt wrong trying to include this as part of Season 2's review, so a short video it must be. With all that riffraff out of the way, how we're going to go about this review is like any normal one of my reviews. We're going to start off by having a really quick look at all of the episodes story-wise. Then we'll get stuck into the main review where we have a look at a little bit of everything and finish it off with an overall rating, which is always the most fun part. Now, if any of those sections don't sound like a bit of you can skip to the timestamps I put in the video and just watch the parts that sound interesting to you. But without further ado, let's get into this review. Now, if you're a subscriber to the channel, you know that for each episode of this season, I've already made a YouTube short, which I'll link a playlist to in the description, where I have a bit of a deeper look at each of the episodes than I will here today. However, for those that have already seen them or just need a really brief overview, we'll crack into that now. In the first episode, we're introduced to Lisa, Vlad Dracula, and Alucard Tepesh, the church, and Trevor Belmont. Lisa opens the show by seeking out the widely feared Dracula at his castle to learn the scientific knowledge he has garnered over his many centuries walking the earth, and in the end these two lovebirds end up getting married and having a little angsty vampire baby boy named Alucard. Being set in a time reminiscent of the 1600s, Lisa is considered a witch by the church simply because she understands more than them, which leads to her getting burnt at the stake. When Dracula finds out about this, he is rightly really upset. But then, probably not rightly so, he gives the people of Targovishte, which is the place this is set, 1 year to evacuate the city before he unleashes the armies of hell upon them. In this year, the people and church do nothing, so when Dracula comes back to the city, it's a complete bloodbath. Then to end the episode, we get a little shot of Trevor Belmont having a wee drink at the bar. Here we learn that the common people blame Trevor's family for the invasion of Dracula's night creatures, and because of this, Trevor consistently moves from town to town and city to city to remain anonymous, which takes him towards the city of Grescia, which has been besieged by Dracula's forces night after night since the invasion began. As he's passing through the city, looking for shelter and food, getting to know and talking to the townspeople, he learns that they blame the city's poor fortune on a group of nomadic scholars known as speakers, which Trevor knows not to be true. On his way to find this tribe and warn them to leave, he saves one of their elders from 2 of the church's corrupt priests, who then takes him back to their group. And being the stand-up guy Trevor is, he pleads for the group to leave the city for their safety. However, the elder refuses as his grandchild has gone missing in the city's catacombs, searching for the mysterious legend of the sleeping soldier, a hero that is said to be crucial in defeating Dracula. To convince the speakers to leave, Trevor offers to retrieve the grandchild. And exploring the catacombs for the elder speaker's grandchild, Trevor gets the feeling that they have been unusually constructed and contain devices which match descriptions he has of Dracula's castle. When he finds a stone statue, he is attacked by a giant cyclops, which he absolutely destroys, releasing the curse on the stone statues, which one of them ends up being the speaker's grandchild, Cypher Belnades. Upon returning Cypher to the speakers, Trevor is summoned to the church by the city's bishop and offered an ultimatum. If he flees the city before sundown and lets the people kill the speakers, the bishop will pardon his family name, and if he stays, he will meet the same fate as the speakers. Trevor pleads with the speakers to leave with him, which they refuse, leading to Trevor deciding to help them and hide them in the city's catacombs while he single-handedly takes on the town. Even Trevor can't escape from the mob and gets cornered before we learn Cypher is a little bit of a bad bee, using some fire magic. Get it? Fire magic? Anyway, Trevor uses his lapse in fighting to expose that the church is the problem and rallies the mob against him. Simultaneously, the most deserved death is happening. The Granddaddy Night Creature seeks out the bishop responsible for both the mob and Dracula's armies, and disposes of him. After the church is defeated, Trevor uses his knowledge of combat to coordinate the city against the Night Creatures in a visually awesome battle. Then the floor crumbles beneath Trevor and Cypher, with them falling into a strange chamber that Trevor mistakes for Dracula's castle. Instead of being Dracula, the coffined figure is Alucard, and once Trevor and him have beefed it out, Alucard reveals that he is the quote-unquote sleeping soldier, and he's been destined to meet a soldier and a magician that aid him in defeating Dracula, which we assume is Trevor and Cypher, and that is where the season ends. Now that was a mouthful. With a series that packs so much plot and storyline into just 4 episodes, it is hard to condense it into anything less than 1,000 words, so when I tell you I had to cut out hundreds of words from that script, believe me. But forgetting the hours of trauma condensing that caused me, we should probably get into reviewing the series. The first question I think we should start with is, what is Castlevania? That seems like a great place to start. Castlevania the TV series is probably best described as a horror action adventure set in a fantasy medieval world that is loosely based on the video game series of the same name, which I should say right now I know nothing about. Now, luckily for me, the creators of the show have clarified that the lore of the show is separate from that of the games, even if they do share some similarities. Which basically means that while the games may share some of the same characteristics, the stories don't intersect at all. And a little fun fact for you all, this series is also produced by none other than Frederator Studios. Which, if you're a child of the 2010s like me, you probably know from gems like Adventure Time or Fairly Odd Parents, which I thought was pretty cool. Now getting back on track, the first series came out in the sunny 2017s, where no one knew the words COVID or TikTok, oh those were the days, and mainly follows Trevor Belmont, who is a member of a disgraced house that is kind of just bouncing from place to place, getting drunk and trying to blend in. But most importantly, the first series really seems to be placed as an introductory season that is introducing the world to the audience and gauging their reaction, which feels even more like the case when you look at the series only having 4 episodes that are no longer than half an hour each. Not only does the first season set up Trevor as the protagonist of the series, with Cypher and Alucard likely to be his posse, following a very used trope of having one main character with 2 best friends, it also introduces you to Dracula, who is from the get-go easily identifiable as the protagonist of at least this series and the next one. However, at no point is he painted out to be this big bad evil figure that is fueled by the sound of screaming children, like a lot of villains are in series. The writers very clearly wrote him out to almost be a villain that we, the audience, feel bad for. I mean, to be honest, he only ventured outside his castle because he found love with his wife, Lisa, and the only reason he began laying siege to the world was because the church burnt his wife at the stake for being smarter than them. And no, I'm not saying that's a valid reason for condemning an entire world to burn, but I think you'd also be a little heartless not to feel for where he's coming from. He lost the only thing he truly loved. So big props to the writers of this series for conveying a character so intricately as that. Yes, some of the tropes in the series are a little overused, but overall, I think in 4 short episodes, they did a fantastic job at connecting you to each of the main characters. And building on from this, I also think the animation style is awesome. As I said in the intro, I'm definitely not a huge anime buff, so I'm not super well placed to say if this style is better or worse than others. In my opinion, I love it. It is very, very slightly janky at times, but so minimally, and it does not detract from the show whatsoever. But with all of that being said, we can get into the fun part of the review, giving the show a rating out of 10. Now, I did go ahead and give each of the individual episodes a rating out of 10, which I'll chuck up onto the screen now. And if we have a look at these, I think the series both finished and started the strongest. The first episode, where you've got Dracula losing his dookie over his wife's death, and the last, which has the epic fight scene between the city and the night creatures, then with Trevor and Alucard, which were all key highlights of the series for me. And then you've got the middle 2 episodes, which were still enjoyable. They were just lacking those key moments that stuck with me after watching them. And so if we average the score from these ratings, we get a respectable 7.7 out of 10. However, I don't think that does the first series enough justice. So you know what time that means it is? Bonus point time! For this review, each bonus point I'm going to give will be worth 0.1 of a rating. Firstly, we'll give a bonus point for how good the animation looked from start to finish. Watching it, that is one of the key highlights for me. I think from start to finish it looked great, and I just loved how it looked. Then second, I'm in love with how they've constructed Dracula to be an almost good guy villain, as you may have been able to tell. I love his character writing. Then we'll give out one more bonus point for the fact that I found out the series was created by the same people that created Adventure Time. And yes, that's a bit of a soft point to give and has nothing to do with the show at all. However, an overall rating of 8 out of 10 not only looks clean, but feels like what the series deserves. And if you don't believe me, the Rotten Tomatoes critics are on my side, so obviously I'm correct. Which overall gives Castlevania a well-deserved 8 out of 10 for its first season. I cannot recommend this show enough. I think it is an incredible introductory season to a wider show, and if you do have the time, I mean, it's only 4 episodes long, give it a go, and if you don't like it, you've only wasted 2 hours of your life, but I assume, especially if you're a fan of anime, you will like it. Thank you all so much for sticking with me this far. I cannot wait to get out to you with a review of the next season. Spoiler alert, it does just get better. But if you do have any feedback on how you think the video could be a little better, any series to review in the future, or any thoughts at all, I'll try and reply to as many of you as I can. And with that being said, have a wonderful day, and I can't wait to see you next Friday.